Hey everybody, I'm Shireen and I'm with Gems by Frequency as well as Frequency Health and Wellness, and today we have a special guest, Danielle Arsenault, who is with Pachavega, who is a plant-based food educator and specializes in plant-based nutrition. And we have some great questions for her today. I'm so excited. I have tasted some of her food. It's amazing. I watched some of her courses online, and I mean, it's wonderful. And I'm just gonna quickly explain why I love what she does, because in my own healing journey, it was really difficult to figure out what to eat. I wanted to eat plant-based, I wanted to eat raw, I wanted to be clean, eating clean foods, but I didn't know where to start. It was like, you can only do carrot sticks for so long, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want your food to taste really good. And I was on the hunt, and I so wish I had known you back then. I'm so glad I know you now, but back then, just because if you're on a healing journey and you're wanting to be educated and you want to know what to eat, I think this is huge.
Yeah.
Huge, because people just think plant-based salads.
Yeah.
Like, it's so much more than that.
So much more than that, yeah. Salads are boring if you just have salads every day, all day long.
Right? And then if it doesn't taste good, you're not going to eat it.
Right.
And if it's too hard to prep or you don't know what to do, you're not going to do it. So I'm so excited. I'm going to let you talk. But yeah, she's an educator. Tell us a little bit about your story. How did you get involved in educating, and why, like, you are a plant-based vegan?
Yes.
Yeah. So tell me about that. Why did you decide to go plant-based?
Oh, well, I've been a teacher for many, many years, 15 years now, and, teaching is my passion. And I was teaching English, and I loved the act of teaching. I love the act of sharing knowledge that inspires me to other people. But after teaching English for a while, I got bored of the subject matter, and I wasn't no longer being sort of nourished by the content.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening was I had a lot of free time. I was in Korea. Wow. Actually, let's go back. So we'll go back to the time I was 17 years old, and my friend became vegetarian. So I became vegetarian. That was the only reason.
You were just influenced, hey?
Yep. The friend said, I'm doing this. I said, okay, well, I don't really like the smell of meat, so I can stop eating it. And it was really easy. But then the second stage, I would say, was when I turned 24 and I was in Mexico, and I was still eating cheese and dairy and eggs and maybe fish sometimes. And then I stumbled across a PETA conference, which is the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to this conference, and it blew my mind. It basically showed me what was happening within the animal industry. And that was the second step of my, leaving all that kind of food behind.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until I moved to South Korea that the third stage came, and I call that the nutrition stage. So it was definitely, becoming vegan didn't necessarily mean healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And right away I saw the difference between, potato chips and Oreo cookies, which is the example I use because those things are vegan or plant-based.
Totally. Yeah.
Versus something that's going to nourish your body, something that's going to be so nutrient dense that you're going to get everything you need. And it was like night and day. And so
for yourself personally,
what I saw out there, and at the same time I started rock climbing and doing a lot of like hiking and things, and people would say to me, hey, you can't be really strong if you're not eating meat. You have to eat meat if you want to be a climber, etc. And I thought, it can't be true, because there's probably people in the world out there that are feeling the same way. Mm-hmm. So I started to do research. The more I researched, the more I saw not only are there plant-based athletes out there, they're winning. They're excelling.
Mm-hmm.
Recovery time is down. There's less inflammation.
Totally.
Even building muscle itself with clean plant-based proteins is going to do something that, an animal that's maybe has a lot of antibiotics and has a lot of other stuff in it than just the protein. So, and that was basically it for me. So I shifted from an English teacher to teaching myself how to make delicious foods. And then being in Korea, I was super inspired by all the weird foods that I'd never tried. I mean, even pickled daikon radish, growing up in Canada, it's, radish. It's a long, big, white, skinny radish.
Yeah.
And we don't eat it typically in Canada
No.
or the Canadian cuisine. And it's just a vegetable, but it fascinated me for some reason.
Yeah.
And then learning how to like simmer that down with some ginger
Yeah.
was, you know,
that
it's
actually
like,
sounds really, I don't even know what that
It's
is,
great.
but it sounds really good.
with some tamari and, you know,
Oh, yeah.
really good stuff.
Yeah.
And so I started to get really excited about these flavor combinations, and I started to get really excited about how the food tasted, and it was exciting.
Yeah.
And, you know, on this plant-based journey that I had adopted, seeing that removing the animal products from my life didn't limit me, it totally freed me. It made all the other foods, it became a journey of like curiosity. It's like, oh, like let's try this shiitake mushroom. Like, what is that
It was an
all about?
experience now.
Yeah.
Instead of just eating because we're taught to eat.
Yeah.
Right?
And there was no such thing or no concept of the idea of diet. You know, you don't have to diet when you are eating a nutrient dense, rich, delicious, incredibly satisfying, satiating abundance of different kinds of foods.
Yeah.
There's no way about it. So that was something that hooked me right away. And then I was sort of ending my career as an English teacher, ESL teacher, deciding to come back to Canada, and I thought, okay, I need to do something different. So I went and studied at the Raw Foundation Culinary Institute in Vancouver. I went to the Ann Wigmore Institute in Puerto Rico. I got my hands on 50 books.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris can attest. I have a massive library, and it's very heavy, but it's full of all those books that basically taught me that plants have power beyond our knowledge and beyond our education. And that's when it became apparent that I need to educate people on the power of plants and how the food that we eat will nourish our bodies forever. You know, this woman that I love, Leerine, she is incredible, and she has an incredible story. When she was 55 years old, she was hit by a truck, completely shattered her body, recovered, and in 9 months she did an Ironman.
That's insane.
She at 55.
Wow.
Shattered pelvis. She's got rods in her body. Everyone thought it's a miracle. It's a miracle, and she said, no, it's not. This is my world, because this is the food I eat.
Yeah.
It's the food.
You're eating living food.
Food that nourishes the body.
That
Food
heals.
That heals the body,
Yeah.
you know? And yes, you can say that word, because it's what the food does.
I think it was meant to do that, to be honest. It's not just about taste, although that's important, but I mean, we forget that it's such a valuable tool.
Yeah.
That can transform our lives.
Yeah. I mean, our mood, you know, the serotonin and dopamine that we can receive from chocolate, for example.
Totally.
You know, that's not full of dairy, wax, artificial flavoring, etc. That's the pure form cacao. You know, that actually has the power to reverse a magnesium deficiency, because it's so high in magnesium. It has so many antioxidants. It has a chemical called the love molecule, because it makes you feel so blissful when you eat it.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Food is
Who
so powerful.
Who doesn't want to have chocolate, right?
Yeah.
I actually shared in one of my videos that I have a piece of chocolate just before to go to the gym, because it does release so many endorphins, and I'm talking like the raw cacao, pure chocolate. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And people just need to understand that food is a tool that can change your life.
Yeah.
For yourself, tell me a bit, have you had any health struggles, and what have you seen in your journey of eating? I mean, you said you definitely gained your strength.
Oh yeah.
What other physical things have you seen in your journey?
Yeah, and so I usually don't use this, because I don't like to use it as like an excuse or whatever, but I suffered from a very bad case of like irritable bowel syndrome is what they called it, because they didn't really know what was happening. You know, so I did all these blood tests, I did a bunch of tests, and you know, they came out with, oh yes, you have a sensitivity to dairy, a sensitivity to gluten, and you have IBS. Like, what is that? Well, what is that? I'm sorry, good luck in the world. You know?
Yeah.
And so it was upon me to try to heal my gut, and at that point I didn't have the education, and I didn't know what I was doing, and it was even before I had turned plant-based or fully plant-based. So, you know, still eating dairy, eggs, still having like gut issues, but it did start to get better and better. you know, this is the thing. Food is a slow medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a lot of times that you eat something and you notice immediately.
Yeah.
Right? It's slow, it's subtle.
Totally.
It takes time. So I didn't really realize, you know, there wasn't a moment of like, oh, wow, I feel better now. But slowly,
Yeah,
I can say
gradually.
now
Yeah.
I have none of those pains.
Yeah.
Now, if I do eat gluten, because I do sometimes,
Yeah.
I get bloated,
Yeah.
right?
I think a lot of people do.
So I just like, the first thing is we're not perfect.
Yeah.
The second thing is it's not about what we do occasionally. It's about what we do consistently.
Totally.
So occasionally I drink wine. Occasionally
Yeah.
I eat gluten. I don't ever occasionally eat animal products. That is a very hard line for me. But, you know, people out there that are plant curious or plant committed, you know, it's not about being perfect.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important to show people that if they're willing and wanting to become, you know, interested in eating more plants, that it can be a gradual thing. It doesn't have to be an overnight thing.
No.
You can start to build the foods that you eat, you know. But what is really amazing about it all, it's actually very simple.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what people want to hear.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to involve all the different kinds of superfoods. It just can be vegetables,
Yeah.
you know, grains, nuts, seeds, sprouts, fermented foods.
Yeah.
Simple stuff put together with an amazing flavored sauce.
It's all about
And
the sauce.
It's all about the sauce. Yeah, that's the new book that I just put
know.
out.
I know. That's why I said
Yeah.
that, because I mean, sauces are huge.
They are huge, and they're whole food sauces.
Yeah.
I mean, you can argue that tamari is not a whole food or olive oil is not a whole food, but you know, there's no processed foods in them. There's no thickeners, there's no xanthan gum. It's just, you know, simple basic ingredients that are balanced flavor-wise. So in the courses that I teach, the first day we learn flavor balancing. So that's where you bring the nutrition education.
Huge.
You bring it together with the flavorful, delicious food,
Yeah.
and you've got super fans.
Yeah. And that's huge. I think that's why I love what you're promoting is it's the flavor, right? Because if it doesn't taste good, people aren't going to eat it. I mean, people think you just eat salads and carrot sticks, and it's not like that at all.
No.
You can have like a pasta dinner
Yeah.
without the pasta, and it's amazing.
That's what we had last night.
Yeah.
We had a
Yeah,
fundraiser
it's-
dinner for the Bow Valley Women's Emergency Shelter, and our main was a zucchini and daikon noodle
Yum.
carbonara with smoky shiitake bacon bits, sun-dried tomatoes, a walnut parmesan crumble over top with garlic and sesame seeds.
Oh my gosh, that sounds
Unreal.
absolutely amazing.
Unreal. No lack, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And the people that came to this dinner are people from, you know, all walks.
Yeah.
You know,
And
all
everybody
kinds of
was
people.
eating it.
And there was not a single scrap left on anybody's plates. There's a 4-course meal. Everyone ate every single thing off the plate. Except for
You
one
also
woman.
made it though, so
Yeah.
it probably has something to do with it. You really get it.
Yeah, I love it so much. But yeah, it's about the flavors, and it's
yeah.
about noticing. Does it have a sour? Does it have a salty? Does it have a bitter element? Does it have a sweet element? Does it have a crunchy element? Does it have a soft, creamy element? Does it have, you know,
Textures are important.
texture's huge, yeah.
Right.
So it's really just about checking off those boxes. Like, yes, I've got some sour in there. Okay, I've got a bit of sweetness. I've got a bit of, you know, creaminess. So maybe that might be cashew cream. It could be avocado. But that's a really important element. And then that crunch factor, super important. So if you have all those things, you know, you're going to have delicious, amazing food.
Totally.
That's satisfying and builds health, heals the body, and gives you energy like you've never had before.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about why it's so important to eat plants? And you touched a little bit on it, but why is it so important that you eat plants? And how does that affect your vibrational frequency? How does that keep your frequency elevated?
Well, the first thing, you know, if you think about plants alive, right? They're living things. When you eat something that's alive, it essentially, like especially green stuff, right? Green leafy greens, microgreens, kale, spinach, chard, broccoli. These things are green because they trap the sun's energy, create chlorophyll, and chlorophyll is only one molecule different from human blood.
Wow.
So when you eat green leafy vegetables, you're basically like you're eating the sun's energy and it's matching your blood.
That's
so
amazing.
Compared to a dead part of an animal. I mean,
or cooked food sometimes.
Even
too.
cooked food, cooked food. When you cook food, you know, you're cooking out a lot of nutrients, you're cooking out a lot of the vitamins, you're cooking out a lot of the enzymes.
Yeah.
Cooked food will always have minerals, it'll still have protein, it'll still have carbohydrates, so there's still value in cooked food, but the vitamins are very sensitive to heat, and so are enzymes, and so those things are going to drop. And when you eat enzymes and when you eat live foods, you're essentially giving the body what it needs to digest itself. So you don't have to pull enzymes from the body to digest your food, which you do with cooked food or plant or
and that is
food.
Huge, because that was actually one of the things I did excuse me, in my healing journey, was incorporate high amounts of enzymes. And I did, that's why I chose to eat raw, because a lot of people don't understand that we need plants to break down food. Because there's natural enzymes in there.
Yes, and not only that, but plants have so much fiber, and fiber is essential to our digestive system. And most North Americans are fiber deficient, and this is a big issue. We're very obsessed with this idea of protein and where do you get your protein, but what we don't realize is we're not even getting enough fiber. We're getting enough protein, so stop with that question, because we're getting enough. The next question is, where are you getting your fiber? Where are you getting your vitamins? Where are you getting your enzymes? You know, that's things that are...
So we get lots of protein.
Yeah, and fiber, right? So this is the idea of fiber. Fiber, what people don't realize is the fiber that comes from plants. So you can have soluble fiber and insoluble fiber. So insoluble fiber is the stuff that just like scrubs your intestines and goes out when you go to the bathroom. Soluble fiber, your body can break down more and you'll use it. Now, fiber is actually your prebiotic. It's the food of your probiotics. So your probiotics are the healthy bacteria in your gut. They're, you know, all kinds of, like, thousands of different kinds of microbes that keep all the bad bacteria and sort of the things that would make you sick at bay, right? So it's like more probiotics, bad biotics, and then basically what's happening is when you eat fiber, you feed your probiotics. So without fiber, those probiotics have no food. So it doesn't make sense if you were to take a probiotic capsule and eat meat.
No.
Because you're not actually giving the food to the probiotics, so they're not actually gonna live.
Do you know what the daily amount of fiber we're supposed to have?
I don't, actually.
So I read the average Canadian American has only about 10 grams of fiber a day, and we're supposed to have anywhere between 40 and 50 grams of fiber.
Yeah.
And I mean, huge difference. Huge. And what you're saying, like it does feed the probiotics. I mean, you can take probiotics all day, every day, but if you're not getting the fiber, I mean, you're just wasting your money.
You really are. Yeah, you really are.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's so much benefit to a plant-based diet. And like you can talk about, I always say it's like a trifecta. There's like 3 areas: your health, the environment, and the animals. And they're all equally, you know, some people identify with different parts. You know, ethical vegans will identify with the animal struggle, and then, you know, you'll have people who are more for the nutrition. But for me, it's like it's all 3. I focus on teaching nutrition, you know, because I'm a chef and I love the food and I love sharing the food. But basically, by adopting a plant-based lifestyle, you are supporting the environment and helping the environment. You are supporting the animals, as in, you know, not being a part of the industry which, you know, needlessly slaughters so many. It's something like 60 billion a year, you know? And it's just too much. It's too much. They've become a commodity, unfortunately. But, you know, what can you say? Some people are affected by that. Some people, like, it matters to them, but some people don't care.
Yeah.
Now, fine. If you don't care about the animals, what about the environment, you know?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you're a frog in boiling water, right? You don't realize that the choices that you make every single day will determine your health in your 60s and 70s. You know, when you turn 60s and 70s, that's when everyone gets the chronic disease, the pain set in, they don't go away. It doesn't have to be that way, you know? And it's not a quick fix. Food takes time. And the food that builds the body takes time, and the food that can degrade the body takes time.
Yes.
And Wigmore said, the food that you choose can either be the most powerful medicine or the slowest form of poison.
Totally.
You know, and so what are we choosing?
Yeah.
In our
Totally.
lives?
Can you just, if I'm a beginner, like say I've eaten meat my whole life and I got some inflammation, you know, my joints are cracking a little bit, you know, I'm thinking about maybe going plant-based, but I'm a little scared. Where do I start? What do you recommend? Like,
Well,
do I just like cut it all out? I mean, it's like through your journey, you know, it was years till, I mean, you started vegetarian and then you slowly progressed to a nutritious plant-based kind of regime.
Yeah.
Where would you recommend the beginner to start?
I actually do believe that you could start cutting it all out. What you need to re-examine is your plate. You know, people look at the plate and they think meat, some carbs, some veggie, right? It's not about that anymore.
Yeah.
It's about a power bowl. How can we make the bowl a power bowl? Well, first you got several elements that you're putting together that when you're eating those things, so you've, like I said already, the crunchy element. You've got, you know, so maybe you have some chopped up celery, chopped up carrots, and then you have a creamy element. So maybe you make like a cashew tzatziki cream with cucumber and garlic. And then maybe you have some, you know, heirloom brown rice or organic brown rice. And then you have an amazing flavorful sauce with nutritional yeast and some olives and some sun-dried tomatoes and all that kind of stuff. And so you've got all these different elements that have all the different flavors, and when you add them together you create a bowl. So I think it's about taking away the idea of looking at meat, you know, meat as your centerpiece, and looking at the bowl as a variety,
textures and flavors and
and I mean, with someone with inflammation, like, you know, there's so many foods. Basically just eating plant foods will decrease inflammation in general. Specifically dark leafy greens are very anti-inflammatory. The spice turmeric, which is a root vegetable, very anti-inflammatory. Ginger, and so, you know, if you're eating plants, you will become healthier. There's just no, you know, it's impossible to decline in health unless you're eating just one thing, like just carrots all day long.
Right.
Then you're going to have a malnourishment problem because you're not getting the variety that comes for all the other stuff. You're not getting the green, the chlorophyll, etc. So it's all about variety. It's all about finding a really delicious sauce that you can make. Because if you can find a really good sauce, 2 or 3 different sauces, you can pretty much put those over anything and make that thing taste great. So I think that's really important as well.
I just thought of one more question before we finish up. I get a lot of women asking me, okay, but what about my vitamin B12? What about anemia? I gotta have meat.
No.
Can you talk about that? Can you address that? Some people say, well, my doctor says I'm more malnourished when I'm going plant-based or I'm vegan.
Well, most of the time it's because there's not enough variety. So people turn vegetarian and they just take out the meat, or vegan, take out the meat, and they don't
add anything else.
No, and already the standard American diet with the meat is already malnourished. They're already malnourished eating what they're eating.
Right.
So if you change it out and you get a variety, you start eating more of many other things at the same time, it's impossible to be malnourished because you're essentially eating the rainbow of vitamins, right? In the rainbow of color, you have all vitamins. So you're going to get vitamins A through K. You'll have them all. You'll have all the minerals.
I'll get my iron.
Yes. And there are certain foods that have higher contents of minerals, right? So like apricots, dates, lentils, lentil sprouts, very high in iron content. Pumpkin seeds is another one. So if you have a specific condition, you can eat the specific foods that can help, you know, repair or mediate that condition. But the problem is our doctors, unfortunately, they're not trained in nutrition. They have no clue. 0, 0, 0. And they're just not.
They do less than 3 weeks of...
some zero. Some an 8-hour nutrition class in their entire career. So they're experts in their field, but they're not experts in nutrition. So they're actually not able to give you nutrition advice because they don't know it. So they're not going to tell you eat these foods. They're going to say, take this medicine, because that's what they're trained to do, and that's what they're there for. I think we need to be re-empowered to take back our own health, to educate ourselves. Doctors are there for a specific reason. If we get in a car accident and our arm's going to fall off, they can repair it. That's why they're there. If we have a life-threatening illness and there's a medication that we need right now to work right now, that's why it's there.
Yeah.
But like I said, food's a slow medicine. So if you have a extreme condition, you might need an extreme therapy to repair your condition. So you might need to take vitamins or minerals for a period of time to rebalance your condition. So if you have an iron deficiency, maybe you do need to take iron supplements for a while, but it's not a forever thing.
No.
It's just, let's rebalance and then let's go back to the food, because the food is going to keep your homeostasis is going to keep your body in balance as it should, as long as you're getting everything you need. So again, it's that variety, making sure you're eating new things, different things. Don't just eat apples, pears, oranges, bananas, pineapple, blah, blah, blah.
All of them.
All of it. Get the variety. So people tend to stick with what they like, and then they don't like what they don't like. So that's where malnourishment can come in, and that's where imbalances can come in. So the doctor that says you eating vegan, you're losing you're losing minerals, etc. That person's not eating a variety. So it needs to be more thrashed out. I've been eating this way for 13 years now.
Wow.
And every time
how's your blood work?
Amazing. Perfect. It's perfect. Yeah. And I just got recently tested, and my doctor actually made me pay for the test, and he said, you shouldn't be in here taking the taxpayers' dollars, because this is the best blood work I've seen in many, many years. And I said, well, I'm a health professional and I tell people to eat this food, so I need to make sure that what I'm eating is actually doing what I'm saying it's doing. And it's true, so.
Not to mention the emotional benefits, the clarity that comes. You don't have that fog after eating a bag of, potato chips, right? That fog after eating a burger. I do too.
My God.
But you know what I'm saying is that there's so much mental clarity.
Yeah, it's quick. The brain works quickly. I'm able to compartmentalize. But I also notice when I do eat some things that maybe aren't, like potato chips, how like you said, the fog or the
you're just a little bit
jumbly.
Sluggish. Yeah.
And we all know from personal experience.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But we're not perfect.
No.
We gotta do what's right for us, and we have to make the choice, the educated choice. So if we're gonna eat that bag of potato chips, hopefully they're non-GMO, they're organic, and maybe you have 5 of them. Not bags.
Not the bag.
5 chips.
Right, totally. Yeah, well, thank you so much for joining me today. I feel like we could talk for hours about nutrition. We're going to do this again. I'm probably going to get you to debunk some more myths about plant-based diet.
Sure.
But thank you, Danielle, so much for joining me. If you guys want to we'll put a link below. You can check out her website, check out her courses. I highly recommend them. You can become a certified chef.
Yeah, certified raw food chef.
Yeah.
An educator.
She's got some great tools. You go see her. Listening to you talk, I've learned so much. Taste her food, make some of her recipes. They're amazing. The sauces are amazing. They're life-changing. Because that was my biggest struggle, to be honest. It was okay, I made this delicious bowl, but superfood bowl, but I don't want to put vinegar on it. It's just right?
Yeah.
And so her sauces are amazing. Yeah. So thank you again. We'll put the link up, and thanks for sharing today, and stay classy and sassy. Have a wonderful day, guys, and we'll talk soon. Bye.